Let's quickly review Cash App taxes. So if you are interested in knowing more about Cash App taxes, here is the bottom line I want you to pay attention to. So first of all, when you think about Cash App taxes, this is the service that used to be called Credit Karma. Okay, so Credit Karma has been rebranded, and so now they go by Cash App taxes. So Cash App taxes supports most IRS forms and schedules for federal and state returns, including Schedule C and Form 1040. So it's actually what we love about this Cash App tax is that it's the only service that we have tested that doesn't cost a dime for preparation and filing, but it doesn't offer as much support as paid apps. Okay, let's quickly talk about the pros and cons of Cash App taxes here. So the pros: it is free. Pages will load quickly. That's just fantastic. So the UX and UI, fantastic. User experience, user interface, fantastic. So this tool supports major IRS forms and schedules. You have a simple but good interface and navigation, so this is really fantastic. And also, one thing we love is that it is excellent when it comes to mobile access. So what about the cons here? Basically, when you think about Cash App taxes, you have a tool that actually lacks depth, so you don't have like a granularity. If you really have a complicated tax situation, don't go with Cash App taxes. You cannot import interest or investment data. You have limited W-2 imports, and there is no expert tax help. So when you really think about Cash App taxes, I want you to think about a tool that's great for residents who live in states that charge income tax and for taxpayers who fear audits. So if you are looking for something very simple, if you have a very simple tax situation and you want to have some kind of transparency or some kind of clarity in your tax rate situation, go with Cash App taxes. And Cash App taxes is not recommended for taxpayers who have complicated tax situations, residents of Montana, and those who are uncomfortable with the change to Cash App taxes. So if you used to be with Credit Karma and you just don't like the new features anymore, the new interface, the new capabilities, don't go with Cash App taxes. So, but long story short, Cash App taxes is really worth it. But the one thing for sure, don't use it if you have a complicated tax situation. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Let's talk about the specs that you need to that you can expect if you go with Cash App taxes. First of all, you have a tool that imports competitors' returns, so that's not a problem. So if last year you filed your tax return with H&R Block or TurboTax or Jackson Hewitt, you basically do not have a problem. You can Cash App taxes can import those competitors' returns, not a problem. And you have a tool that supports all major IRS forms and schedules, and you have a comprehensive navigational outline. So this is really fantastic. So basically, long story short, Cash App taxes actually started 7 years ago under the name of Credit Karma Tax. It was a unique online tax prep service in that it provided free federal and state tax preparation and filing that supported most major IRS forms and schedules. And so it was acquired by Cash App in 2020, rebranded as Cash App Taxes 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and it's gotten better every year in our view. So since our last review, they have added new import capabilities and free audit defense and improved Schedule C and 1099K walkthroughs. So this is kind of cool. So we still believe that Cash App taxes is best suited to individuals who either have simple returns or are very tax savvy, as its health content is nowhere near as robust as what you get from the best personal tax prep services such as TurboTax or H&R Block. So the fact that it's free is appealing though, especially considering the millions of taxpayers who must file a Schedule C because of a side gig or two. So for an exceptional user experience and lots of guidance though, we recommend other players on the market. Okay, so is Cash App taxes really free? Yes, we've tested it. It is really free. As long as you qualify, there are a handful of tax circumstances that Cash App taxes does not support, but as long as you qualify, it is free with no upsells, no upsells at all. If Cash App taxes doesn't support something you need to file your taxes, then you need to use a different tax prep service rather. But the thing is that chances are it will have the tools and features that you really need. And so it's one of those things where people always ask the question, how much or how does Cash App taxes really make money? Well, because they're selling other products. So the thing is that they're using Cash App taxes as a conduit to actually get customers for their other products, because Cash App does have other services, and that's where they're charging for those services. So that's how they're making money. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Cash App taxes. Now let's quickly talk about Cash App itself, okay? So what is Cash App? So Cash App actually launched in 2013 as a peer-to-peer money transfer service. It has grown to include access to related financial services for spending, sending, storing, and investing money. And its financial tools include direct deposits, a cash card, a fractional investing in traditional stocks and Bitcoin. So to use Cash App taxes, you must have an account with Cash App, which is really free. And so is Cash App taxes safe to use? Yes. So Cash App taxes is an authorized e-file provider. So it really adheres to the security, privacy, and business standards set by the IRS. The company's safety measures include a 128-bit or higher encryption, a dedicated on-site security team. They have independent third parties that monitor the sites for vulnerabilities and support for multi-factor authentication with authenticator apps. It really did, so MFA, 2FA, not a problem. And Cash App taxes actually complies with the applicable federal and state laws in terms of its physical, electronic, and procedural safeguards of taxpayer information. And it also requires a secure login every time you use it. So bottom line here is you have a very strong, a very solid tool. And is Cash App taxes comprehensive? Well, no. So basically, as I said before, it's great for a simple, very straightforward tax return. But if you want something complicated, don't go with don't go with Cash App taxes. You want to go with TurboTax. You want to go with Tax Act. You want to go with H&R Block, but not Cash App taxes. So how do tax websites like Cash App taxes really work? Well, if you have ever prepared taxes by hand, you know what a time-consuming, confusing, and frustrating process it can be, especially if your return requires filing multiple forms and schedules in addition to a 1040. You have to do all the calculations yourself, and that's after finding the correct forms, schedules, and tax documents. And likewise, you have to transfer the correct figures from the correct documents onto the correct lines on Form 1040. And like all tax preparation services, Cash App taxes provides an online alternative to doing your taxes on paper. It takes control of the whole process like a human tax preparer in an office might do, asking you questions and recording your answers. You simply read the questions on the page and provide answers by clicking buttons or entering data before moving on to the next set. And as you answer that app's questions, Cash App taxes works in the background to enter your answers on the correct lines of the appropriate forms and schedules. It does all of the necessary calculations too. If you run into an unfamiliar concept, you might see help content. So when you finish answering all the questions that pertain to your federal tax situation, Cash App taxes transfers the relevant data onto your state return if you are required to file one. So when your tax return is done, Cash App taxes reviews your return for errors and possible missed deductions, and lastly helps you file or print your return. And the cool thing is that all personal tax preparation services work this way, more or less. Let's talk about how do you log into Cash App taxes. So to start using Cash App taxes, you have to go through an unusual set of steps. You're starting with signing up for a Cash App account if you don't already have one. So they want you to have a Cash App account. So it doesn't require much, just your birth date, the last 4 digits of your social security number, and a few other details. You can also connect an external bank account if you want to be able to move funds from your account to Cash App and vice versa. So logging into Cash App taxes requires multiple steps, though the process has been changed since last year in our view, and it no longer requires a QR code, but it still requires multiple steps that get tiresome in our view. So to open Cash App taxes on your browser, you'll first have to download the Cash App app on your iOS or Android mobile device. You then go to the site on your desktop or laptop and actually enter your smartphone number. And Cash App Taxes then texts you a link. You click on that link to verify that it is indeed you. Though sometimes in texting, really you might have different numbers. But the thing is that they are constantly sort of improving the process. So that's one thing we actually love, because we just again tested the process yesterday, and we realized that it was faster than it was 2 weeks ago or even 2 months ago when we first started to really look into Cash App Taxes. So this is really cool. But overall, what we love about Cash App Taxes is that you have a very attractive and intuitive user experience. So you're talking here about UX and UI being fantastic. As I said earlier, we really love it. They've done a great job. They really have they have improved things. The colors are there. It's really nice. Everything is nice, and it's very simple too. So whether you are if you're a new user, if this is your first time filing taxes, you will love Cash App Taxes. So this is just fantastic. It has been significant when it comes to the UI and UX when you compare Credit Karma Tax to Cash App Taxes. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Cash App Taxes. This is a Cash App Taxes review. How do you actually enter your personal data, your personal data in Cash App Taxes? Well, first of all, once you're logged in, Cash App Taxes asks you a series of questions about, for example, your filing status, dependents, and your income and expenses. And Cash App Taxes uses this information to tailor your online experience. It also asks you if you want to directly link your tax data to Cash App, which provides more and faster refund deposit options. And you must also enter personal details for everyone in your family, such as their names, their addresses, and social security numbers, as well as answer some standard 1040 related questions. You'll see a summary when you're done. So this is kind of similar to TaxAct, similar to H&R Block, similar to TurboTax, similar to Jackson Hewitt. Really, it's nothing complicated. Okay, so it's one of those things where you really are not you're not going to have a hard time doing it. So there's no steep learning curve here. Everything is straightforward. And so in terms of filling out your tax forms in Cash App Taxes, remember, as I said, you basically can go through an interview sort of process. You don't have to actually have the forms in front of you and enter the data. No, they'll ask you the tool will ask you a series of questions, and as you answer those questions, it will actually, in the background, it will just fill in the blanks for you. Okay, this is kind of cool. So whether you are basically filing an individual tax return or a business tax return, you will basically have the info that you really need. Okay, but as I said before, TaxAct is not for complicated tax returns. If you have a complicated tax returns, go for a competitor. Right now, as of the date of this show, TaxAct hasn't reached the level of sophistication it must reach to actually handle complicated tax returns. Let's talk about how you enter W-2s in Cash App Taxes. Well, basically, if your organization uses ADP for payroll, you should be able to import your form data directly from ADP without having to enter anything. Okay, and you can also import it from Square Payroll. So a lot of payroll providers are constantly sort of improving their processes. If not, what happens here is that you can upload a picture or scan of your W-2, and Cash App Taxes automatically transfers the information from the form to the correct fields. This is really cool. And so precision is critical here. And the company stresses that you should always double check your numbers. I mean, they use OCR, but always check your numbers. And how does Cash App Taxes handle self-employment? It's one of those things where you have Cash App Taxes has a series of forms there are embedded within the tool that can really help you when it comes to Cash App Taxes. So Cash App Taxes supports Schedule C, business income, Form 1099K, payment card and third-party network income, Form 1099 MIS, and Form 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation. It also supports Schedule K1, partnership or shareholder income, and sale of business property. So the cool thing here is that 1099 forms are very easy. You just enter the data on the form you received in the correct fields in Cash App Taxes. It's Schedule C that can be a bear, in our view. You provide basic details about you and your business, like your address, business type, 1099 requirements, and prior year losses. Then you answer even more questions, okay? And so it's one of those things where you have to really be a little focused here. So Cash App Taxes then wants to know what your gross receipts for sales were, and your returns and allowances, other income, and merchant card and third-party network payments. And the latter should have been entered elsewhere on your 1099K. So everyone who actually made a 20K or more in sales processed through a bank or third-party payment network like PayPal or Square should receive a 1099K for this year. Then you then enter your expenses by category, such as advertising, office expenses, insurance, and so on. And some of the categories like supplies could actually use a bit more explanation in our view, but Cash App Taxes provides only cursory descriptions in most cases. And most examples will be helpful here to make your job easier and make errors less likely. And what happens here is that Cash App Taxes can handle the mechanics of Schedule C just fine. If you're just claiming income and expenses as a rideshare driver, for example, Cash App Taxes should work for you. Keep in mind, though, that if you're trying to claim the business use of your home for a deduction or any other complicated business tax topics, you get minimal assistance from the help system compared to what competitors are actually offering. Let's talk about help here. So how much help does Cash App Taxes offer? Well, the thing here is that anyone who has ever prepared their own taxes knows questions always arise, and getting quality help is absolutely critical. Cash App Taxes hasn't had many years to build up the support resources that its competitors have. So the guidance it really offers right now is still sparse in comparison. Again, this is our opinion. So, but the thing is that if you really want to really pay attention to this, Cash App Taxes is right now free. Maybe in a few years when they start charging, they might have a more robust sort of support system, okay? And so a small circle I shows up at the end of many times. It links to brief explanations of the current topic, but some are really sketchy and others are not particularly useful. Okay, so it's one of those things where you may have to do a little bit more research, okay? And the thing is here is that if you are stumped, you can start a chat with a Cash App Taxes support team member during the tax season, though you can only get technical side help, not the professional tax help so many competitors offer. You can also submit an email, and it's one of those things where they will answer your emails quickly. Where we tried, they actually answered our emails quickly, but those emails were more technical. If you ask specific sort of tax related questions, you're not getting answers as quickly. So the big question is, should you use Cash App Taxes at all? Well, it really depends. Again, I think I've answered that question. It depends on how complicated or how basic your tax situation really is. If you have a simple situation, a simple tax profile, or if you are an experienced tax filer and you have a clear idea what you're getting yourself into, you can file taxes. You can file taxes through Cash App for free. So Cash App Taxes is not really going to charge you anything. It's one of those things where you got to ask yourself, if you need help, then it's just a lot better to go to the competition. You can go to Tax Slayer, you can go to Tax Act, you can go to Jackson Hewitt, you can go to H&R Block, you can try TurboTax, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much for your attention. Really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about Cash App Taxes. So this was a review of the tool. So I give you the bottom line, the specs, and now the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.